Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah and here on my channel I post things lifestyle and physiotherapy related. So if you're interested, subscribe, notification bell, all so you never miss a video. As you can see by the title, today I am prepping wedding stuff. We've got our first meeting discussing wedding planning, blah 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 blah, with the venue next week. And I'm off work today, so I thought, why not set up the table and get some questions down that we may have at the venue, and also got my whiteboard ready to write down my to-do list.
So I've opened up my email from my venue manager, wedding manager. They call themselves I'm a personal wedding manager. Don't ask me necessarily what that entails. To my understanding, that's the person who will be there on the day, who will help with the runnings of the day and leading up to the day. But they're not like a wedding planner and they're not a wedding coordinator, I'd say. I have tried to look for an actual definition online and I can't find one. But anyway, so they've sent like a long email basically just saying obviously to book in your appointment, and these are the main things that will be discussed in the meeting. So we'll discuss timings of the wedding, indications of the like how many guests we're having in the day and how many we're having in the evening. Reception, canapes and drink choices. Now I've told you, Daniel and I already spoke about this because I was like, this isn't necessarily something that I can do on my own. Like, I'm taking the lead on the wedding planning, but I don't want him to like, show up and be like, what's on the menu? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that I want him to be involved with. So timings of the day, I can plan that solely myself. So I'm working on that. Indications of the numbers of the day we had to discuss, and we've sent out invites for the day guests already. We're currently just waiting for this meeting to happen. Once we decide and we'll like agree on the timings of the day and what realistically will work and how things will be transitioned in the space, etc., then we'll give out the evening invites, because we don't want to tell people, oh yeah, come for the evening portion at like 6 o'clock, when in fact they actually can't get into the room because we're still doing something else until 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? I don't want it to look messy. We've discussed our evening food choices, and we also have to discuss third-party suppliers. Now, for us, our third-party suppliers are our photographer, videographer, and our DJ. So those are our third-party suppliers as of now, or as of current. I think the next ones we have coming up will be like cake. I'm gonna add that on the list. That's Daniel's task. Daniel's in control of organizing the cake, looking for the cake, whether he wants a cake. So sorting wed cake / tasters. I'm in charge of any favors / tasters, but I've already sorted tasters for that and like draft things. And then other third-party suppliers, and some people maybe be flowers. I'm not really about flowers. No, not really. I'm not about flowers, period. But I think one of my family friends is going to get my bouquet, which is lovely. So I will have to look into that. So another thing on here, decide on bouquet. I have like no idea. How did you guys decide? Any tips on how you guys decided what you would like in your bouquet, if any of you were married, or like what you would desire to have in your bouquet? Because as a girl who isn't a flower girl, yeah, I'm lost in that in that sense. So these are the things that we'll cover mostly in this meeting. But I was like, cool, that's not so bad, but there are other things that ideally I would like to get sorted. See, another thing, so they're given a PDF of things for your first planning meeting. Now it's like cake provider, florist, DJ name, and contact information, hair and makeup. Now I don't wear makeup, and I'm a bit picky on who can do my hair, just because I feel like a lot of people don't get experience with 4C hair, and I'm not trying to have knotted up hair or overly heated here and have heat damage. So I'm kind of a bit like, not really going down that road. Names of like transport, photographer, videographer, things I basically already covered. Sometimes you can also organize for someone to come in and decorate the place for you. So like wedding decor and other external suppliers and so on and so forth. Oh, my venue has a thing about confetti, like it has to be particular types of confetti. Just because it's easy to clean away, and obviously they want to be able to turn over the space. Last thing you would want as a bride is to show up and let's say someone's wedding was the day before and they had, I don't know, light blue confetti, but you want dark red confetti and all over your floor you're just seeing light blue confetti. I don't know, it's just an example, but they ask about confetti. Now with confetti, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it looks good in pictures, yes, but I don't really like the idea of having dried bits of flowers in my hair and down bits of my dress for the day. I also do like the idea of when people do bubbles instead, but I don't know how well they show up on pictures. That's my only concern there. Other things they've got in this document is about like the assurance requirements and like the sound requirements that we have to remind our third-party suppliers of. We already went over catering choices. People, I don't know why, but like people, from reading this, people always seem to forget that the suppliers also need food. In our case with our venue, the suppliers, it appears that the suppliers won't eat the food that we have. The suppliers, it goes, it sounds like it would be the chef's choice of what the supplier gets. Okay, fair enough. Interesting. So it'd be like that. And it's saying after the meeting that we'll get sent some additional stuff that we can sort out before our next meeting. So in between the meetings, we had about 3-4 months in between them. The next meeting is a lot closer to the wedding, like 2 months out from the wedding. So there's a lot to do in between. The next meeting, it's saying we'll get like table layout based off the numbers that we have, because we're going to come to the next meeting with final numbers. Any decorating list, like decor stuff. If you don't know by now, I'm very much like, I will make a whole PDF and be like, this is how I want it, this is where I want things. So that's most likely going to happen. Okay. And it's just telling us a little information about seating. Now, Daniel and I have made a Word document. And I would show you, but it's got some private information on it. But on the Word document, we've added numerous things. So if you're doing this, you could also do this as well. So we've added time of day. So like in terms of the layout of the day, like, oh, I don't know, at 1:30 we have our ceremony. And we know we have that then because we had to speak to the council about getting a registrar for that. So we know that's fixed time in there. And then we've got guests. So we're not written down every single guest. I've got a whole different spreadsheet for the guests, but we've got down like day guests, evening guests, how many approximate numbers, who's in the wedding party. We've got that listed there as well. And because we have accommodation on site and we're choosing who we're offering the accommodation to, we've got overnight guest like proposal ones that we will likely offer the rooms to. In here we've also written down our menu choices, not just the first choice that we want to go for, but we've put up backup choices as well that we're like, ooh, that's good, because we understand like things may change based off the season on what's available. Now, another thing we've got on here are songs. Now, I was watching a podcast, and they were basically saying, obviously, those people forget that you need certain songs you need songs for certain parts of the wedding. So we're trying to decide whether like Daniel will just stand at the top of the aisle or whether he'll walk down the aisle, and does he want a song if he walks down the aisle. Obviously, you've got the song for when I walk down. You need a song for when you're signing your wedding certificate, a song for when you're exiting the ceremony, a song for where you're entering the evening portion. Like, these are just things that you don't naturally think about, but you're like, you don't have to have songs. I feel like it's just nice to have a little something, hype people up a little bit. Other notes I've gotten down here, so like, what would we like maybe want as centerpieces? What would we maybe want as favors? If do we want favors? Other things, questions for venues. Like, we have a drinks reception as well. So the question we've got is, can we bring drinks from the drinks reception into the wedding breakfast? That may sound like common sense being like, yeah, you can, but you never know. It's better to ask, because the way our venue's laid out, it will be like, here's your drinks package, and it will say, let's say, I think it says like 2 drinks for the drinks reception, and then this many drinks for the evening. And I'm like, okay, but say if you haven't finished your drink, you know what I mean? Like, there's little things you want to check out as well. We have a kids menu, but what age does someone fall under as a kid? You know what I mean? Is it under 10? Is it under 2? Is it under... You want to know those bits of information as well, because that obviously varies on your numbers and it varies on how much you're going to pay for them to be there. Now, my venue also has a thing about cake, like the type of cake that you can have there. Because they have catering on site, understandably, they don't want you bringing in something they could make, or they will charge you for it. So there's the little things that you have to be careful about. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, I want a cheesecake. I think it is a cheesecake that you can't, well, you can have, but you have to pay a charge for it. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'll have a cheesecake, bring it in, etc., and then you haven't fit the requirements and they refuse to serve it. One of the requirements for my place is that the caterer, if it's an external one, writes a list of all the ingredients they used, and if it is a cheesecake, you have to pay an additional charge because you could have got a cheesecake from them. So, something to think about. Especially if you're a person who's like, oh, maybe I'll bake my own things. You really got to think about this stuff. As well, how many people can sit in the room, because they'll have it on your website. But I want to know, like, layout-wise, let's say I did go for the maximum amount of tables. How is that working? How's the flow of the room? How do you turn around the room? These are little bits of information that we're asking. I've taken, I've got a hyperlink to the Hitched website. 13 details you should include in your wedding website. Obviously, that's a whole different thing. But let me pull up on my iPad. I was looking at something the other day, and I was like, oh my god, there's so much left to do, it's stressful! Considering there's like so many other things that we're dealing with right now, that this is like ooh, fun. Okay, so you can simply go online and type like wedding to-do list. And when you type that on in Google, you get like several places will pop up. So you got, the first one I see is brides. And it'll be like the ultimate wedding planning checklist and timeline. Now, many of these sites are US based, I find, and I find that the pace that everybody takes to get married in the US, from my experience, is faster than the pace that most people in the UK go at, I would say. No knocking to them or anything, nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it's done is just slightly different, I find. And from my experience, I've also found like even giving out dates is slightly different. I think it's mostly because if everybody's in the same country, people are more likely to give out the invites later, whereas I prefer to be like, I'm going to give it out as soon as I can. You get the date in there, just because I'm a person who likes to plan ages ahead. Anyway, the way this site is broken down, things are into months up to it. So they've gone 12 months, etc., etc., and down into the wedding. So let's see if I hit the things at the 12 month mark. So 12 months is like ensure your engagement ring, determine your wedding budget, make a list of guests, hire a wedding planner, decide formally or decide on the formality or like themes, and select a venue. Those are the things I've done. 11 months out, choose your colour palette, your overall designs, hire your vendors. 10 months out, shop for your wedding dress. Now, I found my wedding dress how many months out? So I got engaged August 2023 and I had my dress by February 2024. So yeah, and I don't get married until 2025. But I knew that for me, honestly, I felt like the wedding dress was going to be the most stress. And it's all saying like 10 months out, create your wedding website. So I'm a little ahead there, a little bit ahead in that sense. Okay. All the other stuff are like send out your invites, start looking for your invites, register for gifts, and rehearsal dinner venue. See, those are things that like I need to put on this list for Daniel and I to discuss, because I think it's a nice touch when people do like a rehearsal dinner. I just have no idea, because I think a rehearsal dinner is something I tend to see more with a church wedding, but we're not getting married in a church. But I'm like, I don't want people to look a fool and not know what to do. But I'll put it here. Okay, rehearsal. For a second I was like, did I spell it right? Rehearsal dinner, question mark. I didn't spell that right. I wrote dimer, like I'm not at work, so I'm not looking for a D-dimer. Query. Any musicians, you got to book these things out very far in advance. That's something to think about. But in terms of prepping for the meeting, these are like little things that I want to think about. So the main thing I want to get out of this meeting is understanding how the room will be laid out in terms of with the tables, the chairs. The other thing I really want to understand is, obviously I know the time I can get on the venue, but how will the logistics work in terms of me moving around the venue without guests seeing me, Daniel moving around the venue without guests seeing us, like things like that. I really want to know the smoothness of the day. Yeah, because you don't want people, let's say, because we're thinking of doing a first look, and the last thing I would want is for someone to see our first look, because it kind of just ruins the vibe. And how do they tackle, let's say, someone who's been invited but hasn't RSVP'd? How did they tackle that? Like, that's something that I want to know. Is it the case of, oh, okay, let's pull up a chair? Because I'm like, absolutely not. I gave you your chance to RSVP. So the ladies, when I show up, the lady's probably going to be like, okay, she's brought her laptop and her notepad and she's got so many questions. And we have about, how long is the slot? I want to say the slot is about like 2.5 hours slot that we have for the meeting. So it's going to go by pretty quickly, I think. But it would be nice to see the venue again. I think this time I'm going to bring my camera because last time I didn't. Hopefully a wedding isn't going on at the time and we do a little tour around, get some nice little pics, look at the place, and who knows, maybe I'll come to the next video with some little snippets. Yeah, exciting. But before I dive off on a tangent, this is the kind of things I'm doing the prep for my meeting. I'll let you know how the meeting goes. I'll pop in another video maybe while I'm there and have a little breathe in the car with Daniel on the way back. But if you're interested in the wedding content, obviously subscribe, keep following, give it a like. Any comments below? Are you in the wedding planning process, or are you just watching to get some ideas for when your time comes? And I'll see you guys in another video. Bye guys.